Hello, good afternoon, welcome to the live stream. So, in today's talk, it is called, let me have a look because I've forgotten, it is called Life After Spiritual Awakening is not permanently blissful, but it is ... Yeah, that's the teaser, but it is. What is it? Yeah. So, okay, we will start with talking about what non-duality is before we will answer that. Or what non-duality is seen from here, whatever here is. I don't mean here. I don't mean here. I mean here. But yeah, from here's perspective. Isn't that funny? Because if I'm talking about here's perspective, which isn't personal, then I'm also talking about there's perspective as well, because isn't here and there the same place? So whose perspective is it? If there is consciousness on this, and there are words coming out, whose perspective is it? Yeah, for somebody that just randomly clicked on this video, because sometimes I get recommended by the weirdest videos, like a news video or something, or a boxing video. You can see in your YouTube analytics. And if someone's just randomly clicked on this, it'll be like, what is she on about? Funny. So, yeah. So from here's perspective, what non-duality is, whatever we want to interpret here as. This is just allergies this week because the room that I am in is amazingly clean. My friend vacuumed and beat the rugs to get rid of the dust bugs, the dust mites. So it's just allergies this week. Yeah, so yeah, non-duality is absolute freedom. It is the recognition that you are not a body-mind mechanism. You're not who you think you are. You're not who you've been told you are. You're not what you feel yourself to be. You are consciousness, which is beyond all of that. You are consciousness. And I know the Advaita police are going to be like, no, consciousness too, isn't it, Lisa? Didn't you know? You've just failed as a speaker. And yes, when you begin to dissolve into consciousness, then you realize that it's unspeakable what you are. Some would say prior to consciousness, but I don't experience it like that. I experience it like, more like, as you go back into consciousness, all boundaries, all ideas, all limitations disappear. And so then it is no thing. It is not a thing that can be discussed. But consciousness and beingness are the gateless gates to that recognition. Excuse me. That was suddenly a lot that came out. You can't do that when you're just sitting for a cup of tea with your friends. Just suddenly turn the camera off. Anyway, yeah, so consciousness is what you are. You are consciousness. And forget about all this like you are beyond consciousness for the time being. Once you truly know yourself as consciousness, as not the body-mind mechanism, and as that which is beyond and beyond the body-mind mechanism and watching it, then we can begin to speak about going beyond consciousness. Like, you don't put the cart before the horse, you could put the cart after the horse. Yeah. So what you are is prior to that which you think you are. So most people at the age of like 1 or 2, or maybe they even begin it in the womb, but at some point most people identify with a name and a form. And this is where suffering starts. So at some point, the baby begins to believe that this is its hands, this is its nose, this is its cry, this is its hair, although it most probably doesn't have hair. This is its body. Prior to that, the baby just was. It wasn't anything. It just was. There was no separation between inside and outside. There was just pure beingness, aliveness, presence. And then, at some point, there was an identification that happened. And the identification is, we could call the seeker or the seeking. Because as soon as identification happens with something, seeking happens, which then makes the identification grow. So what comes first is a bit unknowable. Is it the seeker or is it the identification, or are they the same thing? But as soon as that has happened, what we can say is seeking forms. And what seeking is, and listen very carefully to this part, is seeking is the belief that freedom is a time-bound reality rather than your essence. So prior to that identification, the baby was totally free. It was beingness, it was love. Even though it had pain and cried for the mother's breast or warmth or security, it didn't suffer. So the body had pain and pleasure and did its job of informing the mother of what it needed, but there wasn't anyone in there that suffered. Its essence, what was experiencing, was totally free. And then at some point there is identification, and then seeking begins. And seeking, listen very carefully, is the belief that freedom will be found tomorrow. And what that looks like internally is an agitated energy that is creating complex, overstimulated thinking, trying to achieve a permanent state of pleasure. So to simplify that even more, it would be like the baby believing that it can only be happy when it has its cuddly blanket. It can only be free, and it's seeking for that beingness that it was prior to identification in having its blanket. So the blanket is actually a pleasure, and then the baby believes that the pleasure is its freedom. And the reason that that happens is because when we get pleasure, seeking stops momentarily. Not maybe completely, but partly. And so we misidentify that freedom is in that. So when we get the blanket, it's like, and then it stops. But then the body feels pain, and then a new thought arises of what will free it. So it needs the mother suddenly, or it needs comfort suddenly, and that is freedom, and it's an eternal agitation. And this agitation through time creates the appearance of something being solid in here. I know it seems unbelievable, but this would be the mechanism. But when you explore it for yourself, you see so clearly that that's what's happening. So when there's seeking, it gives a solidity to the experiencer. And consciousness and that experiencer seemingly become one and the same thing. So the baby is now conscious, or whatever we call it Tim. So Tim is now conscious. And Tim has ideas about what his happiness is, and he lives in a time-bound reality and believes that he was born in time and will die in time, and that that is who he is. And that is not true at all. That's a total lie. That is what creates suffering. So the undoing of that, like everything, is a totally magical, personal process. Even though there isn't any person, it's seemingly personal. But it has trends in the way that it goes. And for most people, the undoing of that is a neti-neti, which is not this, not that. So seeing through the illusions of the mind, that it's not that if I get this new lover, I'll be free. If I dump my old lover, I'll be free. If I move to this country, I'll be free. It doesn't say that internally, but that's the energy behind it. It's a scrambling energy to keep up. If I get enough money, I will be free. So, that is one way is the neti-neti, and then the other is the more bhakti way, which is falling in love with what is. So that means becoming more and more present, you could say in a crass way, and as you become more and more present, you begin to taste the love of what you are as presence. So these two things begin to happen, and they can happen in a variety of ways. The neti-neti could happen through a trauma, could happen through losing all your business, through losing your partner. It can happen many different ways. It could happen from taking a teacher. And beingness can happen in lots of different ways. That can be from seeing that you are consciousness, and then with that comes love. It can be seeing the other as consciousness, so finding a teacher or an idol in which you see this in, and reminding yourself of that. It could also be seeing it in nature, all these different ways. So the Buddhists say that the two primary qualities for this are compassion and attention. Compassion and attention, so love and attention. And I see that as similar to this neti-neti, not true, not true, not true, and then the recognition of consciousness. The other part is the recognition of beingness as well. I mean, I kind of use them interchangeably. So let's go more into the bliss now, what we mean by bliss. So there is this famous saying in nonduality of Sat, Chit and Nanda, and this is where beingness and consciousness meet is bliss, or is love. So when I said about you becoming present, love arises. So what I mean by you being present is it's not really a personal thing, but what can happen when you're recognizing consciousness, or when there's a recognition of consciousness, is that everything becomes very present, and then love begins to arise. Unbound, unconditioned love. And that's because consciousness has met beingness. So if we imagine beingness as life, it's also the personalized I am. But if we just imagined it as life for a moment, so beingness is life, is everything that's happening. So it's when consciousness meets beingness. So when the consciousness is identified, it's seemingly lost in time, in thoughts. So it's seemingly lost in what you're thinking about, and what you're daydreaming about. It's not really, but it seems that way. But when it stops being lost, and when it wakes up to itself again, or when presence happens again, it comes back to actually what is. And this is where consciousness meets beingness. You know, if we imagine beingness as life, it's where consciousness meets beingness, and then that is love. It's the union of the Shiva and the Shakti. And then this creates bliss, Sat, Chit and Nanda. So when consciousness stops being in this illusion of time, this daydream of you, even though it's never really been in that, because it's always here, there's always consciousness. But when it stops seemingly being deluded, it comes back to what is, to life, and it reunites with its opposite, and then there is love, its opposite, which is life, which is manifestation. So these two become union, and then there is absolute love and bliss. Sat Chit Ananda. Sat Chit Ananda. And yeah, there is bliss. So blissfulness is a feeling that arises in the body which comes and goes. And this is where people get confused. So the recognition of your true self, the meeting of consciousness and beingness, is absolute love. Most juicy, beautiful, free love, unconditioned love. And then what manifests in the body, which comes and goes, is blissfulness, is a feeling of blissfulness. And that is not permanent. So the body could, for example, mourn. Yesterday a video came up when I was uploading a video or something of me, and I clicked on it for some reason. And for the first 2 minutes, I was speaking with Khaleesi. Khaleesi was like blissing out, licking her bone. She used to be like, lick her bone. And it was like she was so blissed out when she was doing that, when she like obsessively licked something. I mean, that was my interpretation. That's what I felt. And she was so happy and contented and proud with her little bone. And there was just such a strong like knowing of her, like Khaleesi, for those that don't know, has passed now. And there was such a like beautiful like union with that memory. And yeah, maybe there was like a sadness that came up that form has passed now and is gone, is only images. And so that is a blissfulness, but my essence is in bliss, because consciousness and beingness are reunited. Consciousness is not seemingly lost in the daydream of you or me. So my essence is bliss, but my character, body mind mechanism, is experiencing what we might call sadness or grief. It's such a funny feeling, because it's not that I want her back, because latterly she was in so much pain. It's not that I wish for her back or anything, but it's like this feeling like I know her so well, every movement, and it's like almost like I can touch her but can't. She's so close. That's the feeling that comes with it. And I'm also happy for her that she's free, she's not in pain and that she's totally free now. Yeah, I'm in celebration of that. So when the person gets the idea that this is a feeling of blissfulness, or this is a feeling of love, then seeking will resume. The seeker will come back and start imagining that it is separate and there is something it does not have, which is a lie. You have everything as this. You are that primordial energy, the absolute wonder of what is. You could say, like in a poetic way, like when consciousness meets beingness, they dissolve into each other and it's just mystery, absolute love. But we start off with consciousness and that personalized I am to begin to cool, to put out breadcrumbs to that, because it's in yourself, but you've seemingly lost it. And it's not that you wake up to it again, it's that it wakes up to itself. It has seemingly been asleep, but it's an illusion. It's not really being asleep. It can't ever be asleep because there's always consciousness. Like from the morning you wake up, consciousness is there, beingness is there. It's right here. It's totally awake and alive to itself. But it's just this hypnosis of a dream that's come in saying, I am in time, I am a person, I am a body, mind. And that is not true. That is not true. Okay, so if you have any questions, you can raise your hand in Zoom. If you want to write in the chat in Zoom, you can, or you can write in Telegram. And before we move on, I will do advertisements. So, first one is that I have a new book club starting in May. And I advertised it as for the Australians, and the Australians are booked now. So if there's any Europeans that want to book up, you can do that on my website. And you can if you book it if you're an American, but you'd have to be a night out. At night hour, it's at like 11:30, I think, morning. Yeah, so I think there's a couple of spaces left for that. So you go onto my website and sign up now. And I think there's a couple of places left on my retreat in the south of Europe, so you can book for that. I think we added some camping spaces, and I think there's some shared rooms left, and maybe you can stay outside, but I don't think there's any single rooms left. But there's very few, I think. Amelia was saying maybe 3 to 5 at max, more places. Yeah. Amelia is the organizer. Yeah. And if you want to sign up to Telegram to be included in the Zoom group, you can find out how to do that on my website. Yes, and if there's anybody in the UK that thinks that they would like to potentially host something when I come back to the UK, do get in contact. I am trying to do more in the UK. I've done very little over the last years. I have one contact who I'm working with a project on. Yeah, so you can fill in one of the forms on my website. There's one, I think, on my biography page that you can fill in. Yeah, so you need to know a studio, a yoga studio, or a place in which we can do talks. That's, a nice space. Okay. That is all. So, we have no hands up, no questions. Oh, we got one question maybe in in Zoom. If the knowing and the known are not separate, how can directly see we are the knowing and not the known? Or are they the same? Well, the knowing and the known are the same. I mean, I don't always know what people mean by words, because words are funky little things that aren't fixed things, they're comparison. But the knowing and the known are the same thing. So, right, I mean, it depends if you mean that intellectually. So I'm talking about knowing as consciousness. So consciousness knows the chair, but it doesn't know it as that word chair. It knows it as what it is. But it's one movement. The illusion is that there is a knower that's knowing the known. So the seeing and the seen are the same. The hearing and the heard are the same. The feeling and the felt are the same. Yeah. Can you expand how the knower is an illusion, maybe direct experience? What do you mean by the knower? Do you mean the ego, the one that's interpreting, the one that's like I know I'm in America, or I know I am Ivan? Or do you mean perception, this instantaneous perception that's happening? Yes, I'm a someone. So you mean by the knower that you're a someone? Well, the way that you tell that that is the illusion is by going beyond that. So if you see something which you see the knower, so if you see that, so the thoughts come up like, oh, I don't like this person, or oh, I'm such a handsome person, or I hate myself, or this is fantastic. Something is seeing that, right? So in order for something to be seen, we have to have something that experiences it. Those aren't self-experiencing. They aren't coming up with the words and experiencing themselves. Something has to experience it. So imagine if you're sitting in the audience watching a film, like you are sitting watching the film. It's not that the film is watching itself. It couldn't do that. It needs something to watch it. So anything that appears in this world is not the experiencer. Ultimately, you could say it's the experiencer because everything is the experiencer, but there is something that is experiencing anything that appears. So if it comes up like, I love myself, or I am fantastic, I am better than this person, something knows that. Who is that? That isn't the actual knower. That is a knower through time and space, but it's not the actual experiencer of this moment. The true knower. The true knower. So it's always like, who is experiencing now? The thinker? Or is it something beyond? Everything that appears is illusion. It's very simple. That's the neti. Everything that appears is illusion. Nothing is reality. No thing is reality, you could say as well. Kind of goes each way. No thing is reality. No thing. And we can't prove that, right? Because it just be known. And can we prove it? Prove it like a scientific experience? a scientific experiment. Maybe science can prove that one day. I don't know. But direct experience is the answer. This is what I love about non-duality, is it's not something that you have to believe in. It's the direct experience. Who is experiencing now? Who's experiencing the thoughts? Who's experiencing the feelings? What is experiencing the thoughts and feelings? What? Who? Where are you? And this is where consciousness and the person seems to get interwoven. So the person thinks it's conscious. So the person is like, I am a good boy. And it feels like it owns consciousness. That one that's saying, I am a good boy, and has the feeling of being a good boy, is conscious, and it's not conscious. That person isn't conscious. There is prior. Person is coming and going. So I said it last week, I think, in the talk. Like if you went to the supermarket and you, on the way, bumped your head on your garage and then forgot everything about yourself, would it still be you that went to the supermarket afterwards if you've forgotten all your past? If you took a drug and you started feeling ecstasy, would it still be you? If someone cut off your arm and you had less limbs, would it still be you? If you got plastic surgery and changed the way your face looked, would it still be you? And everyone's like, yeah, of course it would be, because we all know that we aren't what we experience. We all deeply know it, that there is something in us which is permanent, which doesn't change, but thoughts, feelings, sensations, taste, touch, everything else changes. That's not who you are. It's never been who you are. So I'm just sticking to the Ivan. And we can't prove that, right? Because it's just be known. Prove it as pure knowing without doubt. Without doubt, that can happen. There can be the recognition, and it's like, it's known. It's even beyond doubt or belief. The person is a robot in appearance, right? A contraction. I can see it, but it still feels like me. Yeah, because it's like me. But it actually doesn't feel like you, because it's like these chemicals coming and going, because what it does is it makes you think and feel things in certain ways. Like as a woman, we have this amazing superpower that men don't know about. And that is that we have these strong hormonal changes that happen. Very strong. Some men might have that too, but mostly it's us women that get these strong hormonal changes. And I think every woman can relate that one day, on the Friday, say, they see their partner as wonderful. And then on the Saturday, when the hormonal changes happen, the partner is like the worst devil in the universe. And this is such a gift that we get these hormonal shifts, because it makes us see so clearly the impermanence of thoughts and feelings. So on the one day, everything is fine, and then we have this dramatic hormonal change, which creates pain in the body, and then the mind interprets it that it's the husband or the wife or whoever, or the children that are causing the problem. But when you're in the awakening process, you begin to see these rapid changes in hormones and how your whole life can look completely different overnight, completely different, and feel completely different. You can feel completely at home and comfortable and loving, and then the next day completely alien and want to be somewhere else. When people are lost in that, then they create all types of drama. And if you've got something like PMS syndrome, it can make all types of chaos, because they don't see it for what it is, that it's chemicals changing, and that the stories it's telling aren't true. There are chemicals, just like a program, that comes in and changes the feeling, and then the mind interprets it like there is a drastic problem, whereas if they just waited till the next day, they would feel fine again. But just because it's like, so a lot of people are so lost in their feelings and thoughts, they don't recognize it. But women have this amazing superpower that can happen. We have these strong hormonal changes like 3 times a month. Once when we ovulate, and 4 days before period normally, and then when we have period. So you've got these 3 changes that happen, and it's stronger and lesser for some women, and it might be slightly different times. And it really can. It can be like I can notice it. Like, you know, this change can happen really dramatically, like a sudden change in the body. And if you're aware of it and not believing that's who you are, then you just see it for what it is, that the chemicals have changed in your body, your brain is getting different signals, and that any story it tells about it isn't true. If you believe that story, then you'll go and create chaos in your life, most probably. I know I did when I was younger, because I didn't know what it was. And so then you can see, like, so I can be loving and sweet on the Friday, and on Saturday I can be a real bitch. So there is no permanency in who I am. I'm not talking about me, as if you ask my partner, that never ever happens. He never wakes up with a Lisa. I'm making a joke, you know. He sometimes does have to tolerate the hormonal shifts. But he's very gracious about it, like he's very sweet about it. And says he's grateful that I realised that it's hormonal shifts. Grateful. Yeah. And not him. So that is not permanent. It happens in men. Men have a hormonal cycle, but it's just not so strong. So you might not have like such dramatic shifts in personality that happen within an hour, unless you had like a chemical imbalance like manic depression or schizophrenia or something, if that's what that is. I don't know. Yeah. So is that the end of Ian? Of Ivan, sorry. Okay. Yeah, so we'll go to Sam now. Okay, you can unmute yourself. Yeah, I can't hear you, Sam. Hang on a sec, I think it's me actually. Sorry, I muted something. 1 second. There you go, now you can speak.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just saying thank you for the talk. As no one else was putting their hand up, I thought it seems like a good chance for me to ask a question. I feel like a lot of my conditioning and like conditioning is working itself out anyway now as part of like a process, and that happens without really attending satsang. And like I can feel a little bit swept up in everything happening on its own as like it does. And my question is like I'm an addict in recovery, and I definitely have an addictive personality. And I think even before, maybe years and years ago when I was listening to you, I think even you said to me, maybe you're kind of getting addicted to these talks and using that as another sort of addiction. And I guess my question is, do you have any advice on how I should know if that's something that's happening and it's maybe not really that helpful for me or not that healthy, or whether it is just as it's happening, and I'm just speaking to yourself, a non-duality teacher, and that's exactly what's meant to be happening. I guess I struggle to know the difference.
Oh, it's exactly what's meant to be happening. Like,
Okay.
yeah, always, anything that you do is exactly what's meant to be happening. It can't be any other way.
Yeah.
And with the addict part, it's better being addicted to this than it is to being addicted to alcohol or drugs.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
out of addictions or chocolate or whatever it is, or coffee, out of the addictions, it's like a better one.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. Like even though being an addict for like nearly 20 years, I didn't know that much about addiction until I got into um, the NA program quite recently. And it's actually like they describe it as a disease of addiction, and drugs are just a sort of a solution for it. Actually, it's not that drugs are the main problem. They say drugs are maybe like 2% of the problem, and 98% of it is relationships. It's relationships with others, with yourself, with God. And yeah, like it's something that I think way before I picked up any drugs is, you have these problems with obsessive and compulsive behavior, and that's what addiction is. It's kind of like trying to fix the way that you feel, and drugs are like a perfect way to do that. Well, not perfect, obviously, but they're a really attractive way to do that to people who have this addiction in them, because it's like you can choose what feeling you're going to feel. Like in a computer program, you're loading up a specific feeling and you have control over that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's really fascinating, addiction. I don't know loads about it, but just I pick up on something that you said, which I found interesting, is that like that compulsive behavior. You know how you said that addiction is mostly relationships, and that compulsive behavior often comes from the early relating. Not having. It's amazing. Like Ramesh Balsekar used to say that everything was relationship.
Yeah.
And yeah, like everything, your whole life is relationship. Like that is what separation is relationship. Me and you, me and my job, me and my parents, me and smoking, me and drugs, me and the world, me and politics. So he would say everything was that, and the most important part is seeing that you aren't the doer and that you aren't in relationship. You are beyond relationship. And the thing is because everything in our world is relationship, that means that the first relationship you have has such an impact on you, so that relationship with your mom. I don't even know what I mean by personally, that's an abstract thing, but I don't know, it comes out that there's a belief in previous lives. So I kind of feel like the relationship that you have with your mom in this life is a result of many relationships that you've had in previous lives. So you it's like an accumulation. But if we just take it back to the mother, like that first relationship, it teaches you how to relate to the world. So if you've got a mum that is chronically stressed, she is teaching you to be chronically stressed about everything. Because this thing here, whatever that is, believes that as humans, we're all telepathic. We're all energetically picking up on each other. So even if the mother does CBT or something and hides the stress, the baby will intuitively pick up on the stress, that the mother's chronically stressed. So the baby is learning everything is stressful. Speaking to the dad is stressful. Speaking to the doctor is stressful. Speaking to anybody is stressful. Cooking dinner is stressful. Cleaning the house is stressful. So the baby is being taught that everything is too much. Everything is a burden. Everything is stressful. And that's the first relationship. And then the baby changes as it has other relationships when it goes to school and forms other relationships. But relationships are so fundamentally important to the development of the character. But in the end, the freedom is going beyond that character. Yes, fix the character, because if you're just totally in drugs, like you're so into seeking or drugs or the world, you can't investigate what is beyond the character. But the freedom is going beyond the character. And normally the character has to become fairly stable, but not all the time. You hear about like Byron Katie, who was a drug addict and then had an awakening. But often it has to be fairly stable, and then there is this recognition beyond that. But it's really interesting, like these behaviors. But with addiction, I don't know so much about it, but it's so obvious. And in a way, maybe all of us are addicts to an extent. Maybe there's some people that are more susceptible to it, and some people that are less. But maybe like when there's somebody seeking, they're always going to be looking for something to relax that seeking. But it just might not be so extreme.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Everyone has some forms of seeking, maybe at some point in their life. And what you said about relationships is, I think, 100% true. I notice it a lot in the 12-step meetings that I go to. People say if we had like the best start in life or the perfect childhood, then we probably wouldn't have done what we did to ourselves with all the drugs and the pain and the suffering that comes with it.
Yeah, I think, but I'm not positive. But if you grew up with people that were free and that were emotionally balanced, then that would really rub off on the child. But not always, I think, as well. I think that there's genetics and past life and karma that come into things. And like disease can create, can do things, or birth defects can do things to the personality. But yeah, generally, I think if you grew up with parents that weren't stressed and were really balanced and were really free and were having a really healthy relationship, then that child would look at the world like that. It would see the world as an all-loving place rather than a very scary place. Most people in our society are taught from a very young age this is a very scary world because that's what their parents believe.
Yeah, that's right. And like a lot of people go through a trauma, and that has, that will have an impact about how they feel about the world and themselves as well, I guess. But I mean, I went through a long time of really going into my childhood and asking questions, and a lot of stuff came up, a lot of memories that I hadn't had before, and I ended up stop asking so many questions and realizing that blame doesn't really help, and even you can't, like, things could be past lives, memory can be unreliable. I ended up having to just kind of tie a bow on it and just move on with what I've got, my genes and up-to-date conditioning, and trying to move forward.
Yeah, totally. It's good to, I think, have a good conceptual understanding of the way in which this body-mind functions, but it's not the freedom in the end. Like if you stay in therapy, I feel like you can improve the character, but it's always in the story of the character, whereas we're going beyond what is watching the character, what is experiencing that character.
Yeah, that's it. And like you said, the character probably does have to level out to a certain extent. I've been listening to and reading spiritual stuff since I was about 18. I'm now 36. And it wasn't until like my body and mind had healed to a certain point that I could have any real breakthrough, it felt like.
Yeah,
it's weird. But yeah.
You're only 36, Sam. I'm not saying that you look old or anything, but I didn't realise there was such a big age gap between us.
Yeah, I don't know, yeah. I can't remember how old are you? You're in your 40s now?
I'm 44. I'm sure there's a bingo thing for that, like 88. All the fours. 44, all the fours.
All the fours, yeah. Yeah. All right, well, nice talking to you, Lisa. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Okay, Lalit. I called you Lalita last time, right?
Yeah.
Have you read the book, Lalita?
What book?
Oh, I don't know. There's a book or a film called Lolita. It's really amazing.
Oh,
But
it's
quite dark. Yeah, we shouldn't go into that on a live stream. Yeah. But Lolita is also a Sanskrit name, I think, as well, Lalita. I think it's a beautiful name, but for me, it will always be related to that book.
It's not like my real name, but it's like my sannyasi name, and it means beautiful.
Yeah. Is it the masculine? Is there a feminine that's Lalita? Or maybe I just got it wrong. Lalit.
No.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I'm not sure.
It's a beautiful name. Lalit. Who gives the sannyasin names now that Osho is passed over?
I took sannyas in Delhi last year, and it was like an old granny. She was like, I think 85 or something like this, and she was one of the first sannyasins of Osho. But there are different ones that are giving it, but I got it from her.
Okay.
My question was, I think last week I talked to a German teacher, and he also talked about Ramana, and I had a question about the heart cave that
The what, sorry?
Ramana pointed to.
The what,
The
sorry?
heart cave of the heart.
Okay.
You've heard of it?
No. Cave of the heart.
I don't know, just like basically like the point of I am, when you say like you feel it in the chest.
Yeah, he says like the left or the right side, I can never remember. I've got dyslexia, so it's like that's just a hopeless description for me. Here somewhere. Yeah. Yeah. The heart, he calls it the heart cave, does he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently, and I always thought in my mind that it's the same like the heart chakra.
Mm.
But do you know anything about it? Because the teacher said no, apparently it's not. It's like a different pointer.
Yeah, I don't know so much about that. I just know that Ramana said that, and I know that when he said it, when I wasn't alive when he said it, but when I read it in his book, like Who Am I or something, I can't remember the name of the book, I just felt like that really made sense. And because of the left and right, I just know it's around here. Like, so to me, it feels like it's right directly in the middle here, but I know that he says it's maybe here or here. I don't know where he says it is. You can't do that to dyslexic. So intuitively, I just, it's just here. I wonder if he knew about the word dyslexia.
Yeah,
when he said that.
Like just right in the middle somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's different from the heart chakra feeling, because that's a feeling, you know, like the chakras open and close. Yeah. So that's a feeling where it's not that. To me, to here, to this, I don't know. So it's this absolute love beyond that heart chakra that's opening and closing. So my heart chakra can open and close. So if I saw now like an animal run over or something, or an animal screaming in pain, that heart chakra could close. And it's not that. But it's seemingly connected in some ways to the feelings, but it's not that. It's prior to that. Like it's no, I don't feel like it's a coincidence that the heart chakra, which is love, is connected to the I am, which is love. You know, it's in the same area. But these things are spoken about by many people in different ways. So for you, like gather the information from the different teachers and the way they speak, and then really go inside and investigate what's the truth for you. What do you feel it is?
I just feel like sensations like here. It's not like tingling or like an electric feeling. It's more, I don't know, cleaner or like more open, more stable, more like it's not like so much changing or opening. It's just there. And I feel like if I'm stressed, like I don't notice it, but when I just like close my eyes or just like for 1 or 2 seconds, like it's instantly there, or like it can be seen.
Mm. Mm.
Like something like this.
Yeah, and what's really profound about it, so you're beginning to tap into it, you're beginning to, I suspect, like recognize this, the I am. And what's really profound, like, and this is something that you begin to experience through exploration, is it's not really there, it's actually everywhere. And that's it's the same with the consciousness, you know, at first the consciousness feels like it's behind, but then it's like it's a union that happens where that I am and that empty looking goes back out into everything. Another way you could look at it is like consciousness and beingness meeting. But that's a bit complex. But it's not really there, it's actually everywhere, but it's seemingly the portal there. So it's the portal, but it's actually an illusion that it's a portal in the body. It's an illusion that it's in the body.
I don't know if it's like really real, but just like from sensations, it feels like in the heart or in the head. And when I'm just like looking, that it goes just, I don't know, like back, like
yeah.
I don't know, like the movements, like something like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it goes back and it goes forward infinitely. What's been keeping it feeling like it's in here is this story of you. So because you've been telling yourself that you exist in here, you begin to feel it in here. It's actually everywhere, and it's seemingly looking through this angle, and it's going through this body, but it's not locked there. That's not the end to it, or the beginning to it either. Yeah. You can have all types of different experiences where you have vertigo and you have these expansions, and you might feel like you go out of your body or come back into your body, or you might feel like you're a lot bigger. I used to get these experiences where I felt like my head was on top of the ceiling or something, you know, it'd gone all the way up to the ceiling, or my legs were really long. And it's because like our size is infinite, but we keep telling ourselves our size is our body. But who we are is that consciousness and beingness, which is infinite and prior to the body. We've never been the body. That's a thought that we've been repeating and making it feel like what we are. So as it begins to break, you can have these weird experiences. Also, if you take drugs, which I'm not recommending, but if you take drugs, often you have a disconnection from the body as well. So you begin to feel different sizes or shapes. That can be very scary, and it can be very blissful.
Like often you also use the pointer, God is looking through your eyes right now. And this was one that I really liked, but like in the last weeks, I just noticed like it doesn't really work for me anymore, because like before, like I could sense like that something is happening, but now it's like, yeah, that's somehow clear. Like nothing happens really. It just stays as it is. And I was wondering if you also have like, I don't know, like if you switch to different pointers or just stay with what is and just look and
if you're switching pointers because you want an experience, I would just stay with it. But if it's just because it's a natural progression, then then allow that to happen. But if you're switching because you're not having any experiences, it could be an avoidance, like a wanting an experience. Nice, thank you. Okay, Paul. I just have to say something before you start speaking, Paul.
Yeah. Pavel or
How
Paul.
do you say it? How do you say it? Is it Swedish?
It's Polish.
Polish. Paul. Oh, better.
Polish for Paul.
Oh yeah, I'll just say Paul. I mean, I'm never going to be able to remember. Anyway, just before you start speaking, is that I suspect that you're like me in the sense that you're neurologically diverse, and we're not always the easiest to understand and to have conversations with. So last time I found it sometimes a little hard to follow you. So if you just go a bit slower and just stick to one thought stream, if you can. But if you can't, I'll just point it out that you're doing a couple of thought streams. I'm like it too. I can be like this. It's our gift,
Right.
our superpower.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I just felt inspired what Lalit said 2 minutes ago when he mentioned he did something like if God was looking through my eyes, if I remember correctly. See, I'm slowing down. Yeah. So yeah, that gave me that inspired me to ask a question.
Yeah.
And it will be actually another technical question. It will be a question about the feeling of, I'm falling, feeling I've had some time ago. And it was similar to what Lalit said, but instead of God watching through my eyes, was God is making decisions next second. It's like I'm growing out of something. It's like whatever I'm doing and whatever intention appears, it's like it has been done, and I was conscious that I'm just stamping it with stamping. Is that a correct word?
Yeah, that's okay.
Stamping it with my name on it, double quote, like that was me, that was me.
Yeah.
But all this intention stream, let's say, or little choices second by second was there, like bubbling up, appearing, disappearing, appearing, and yeah. So instead of how this 3 words you're using, Sat Chit Ananda. Yeah, it was like parachuting. I never did parachuting, but probably how people are feeling in such moments, like I'm falling. Like for 20 minutes, it was very like, because if your intentions are happening on their own, it's like freeing you from any kind of tension regarding your decisions or choices or how you this. And I say in micro scale and in a big scale, like what job should I pursue, and whether to pick up this cup is the same. Like, but yeah, and it was so freeing.
I was freeing. It wasn't scary.
Yeah, but after 20 minutes, the body started sending me signals of fear, like I'm falling.
Yeah.
Like, somebody give me some ground here, please. So what I dealt with that by it took me like 4 minutes by just putting attention through the body, these sensations, because I found out that's like amazing garden of something that like infusing attention with body, and that calmed that down. But please advise about that kind of to go further, you know, how do you feel that? Thanks.
Okay, thank you for going slower. That was good. That was helpful.
Thank you.
So that's really intense experience to have. So I got taught in Buddhism these types of experiences called samapatis. So I used to have experiences where my legs would be on backwards. I'd get like intense vertigo and dizziness, sometimes maybe even a sickness coming up. And I would have feelings like my head was on backwards, my arms were on backwards, my head was on the ceiling. So I'd have all these different experiences of the body. I don't know if I remember falling, but often there was a feeling as if I fell out of the body. But it would be quite quick. It would be like, and it kind of was very associated with vertigo as well. Yeah, and like lots of experiences where if I was like, say, on the top of a hill and looking down the hill, you know, like at that distance, then there might be a like unsureness if the body was going to fall off the hill or not, because it just all felt so connected, you know, it was an unsureness of where the body was. And these things are really normal on the way, because the location of your consciousness and the location of your I am inside the body is a lie. That isn't where you are. So the location of your consciousness and the location of the I am combined with the thoughts gives you a feeling that you're inside the body. But who you are has never been inside the body. Who you are has always been everything, which is not finite. It's not even infinite, because infinite is still something. It's not finite. It's like, it's everywhere. It's not, you're unbound. Consciousness is all things and no things. And the same with beingness. So as you begin to wake up to this, the body has all these weird experiences where it maybe can't move the body correctly, or it feels like it's falling out of the body, or it feels like it's really big, or it feels like it's really small. And what they taught me in Buddhism was not to get hung up on the experiences. So not to want them or desire them, or to give them too much thought, but just to allow them to happen, because what's happening through the apparent timeline is your consciousness and your beingness is detaching from the body. But Tony Parsons, he used to say, it can't all happen in one go because it would most probably kill the body, like it's too much of a shock. So it's happening bit by bit, that your consciousness and your I am is detaching from the body and going back to where it's always been. And it's no longer bound in the person. So then you shift to experiencing the world as non-dual, not separate, with a character that is functioning inside of it. But you can do all types of funky things to the character, like Ananda Mahima, who's a female teacher or guru. Afterwards, I don't think she really regained proper control of the body after that shift. She couldn't feed herself. She couldn't always function properly. But when you're free, I don't think she ever properly regained control of the body. But when you're free, who is it that cares? You know, if you're back in yourself, like,
Yes,
yeah,
yes. The fear, the bodily anchored fear was a secondary to this, the primary, let's say, experience, although it wasn't like in the body that was experience, but prior to that, it was just a change in perspective, like I'm lived, I'm growing out of, and it was, I understood what prostration mean. I mean, I do Buddhist prostration, this Zen one, when you were like, and there was something like vast expanse that holds me, and I'm just it's not like the relation like I am the small vast expanse and there is a big vast, it's like I'm thought of, you know, not that I am a small particle and there is an ocean. It was like I'm not. You know what I mean? Like I'm an abstract.
Yeah.
And there is something concrete that's is thinking about thinking my life or something.
Yeah, totally.
But then going back to the body, it reacts like, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah, totally. And so this is then like the nitty-netty, where it's the habit that will be formed through time is like not this, not that. So when the fear comes up, it's like not this, not that. The fear comes up, but there's remaining still, not this, not that, not this, not that. And that's something that naturally develops, because in the end, it's not you doing it. It's something that who you are as that pure consciousness begins to manifest, because it always seemingly manifests through cause and effect. So as you get deeper and deeper into this, the thoughts that will begin to arise, it's not this, not that, not this. So the fear comes and there will be a strong staying still, and then the fear will dissolve.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Okay, David S., you can unmute yourself.
Hey, Lisa.
Hi, David.
Hey. Well, thank you so much for doing this. Such an incredible gift. And also, I'm sorry about Khaleesi. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up something which may relate to the last question here. For the past few months, I've noticed doing silent meditation, sitting meditation, is that there is an increase in awareness of thoughts. And at the same time, the hidden memories are increasing as well. You know, old memories that normally don't come up just keep coming up. And there's also an increase of detachment from feelings. In other words, being able to perceive them. At the same time, the feelings, especially grief, is intensifying.
The what? Sorry, the what? Grief.
Grief, the feeling of grief.
Grief.
Yeah. You know, which is attached to stories, past stories, but nevertheless, they come up as a bit more intense. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is, expansion of consciousness and the fear that brings up how to discern whether that is an expansion, indeed an expansion of consciousness, or it is just, you know, trauma, old trauma that comes up. If that makes any sense. So, with an example, when we were up at South Spain, went on that day walk up in the mountains, I felt, I felt a lot of anxiety. I felt a little bit of panic come up, and it was very uncomfortable. I didn't want to bother anyone. I didn't want to reach out for help, but you know, I kind of like pushed through it. But it wasn't specific. It wasn't, you know, something specific that I was afraid of. It was just, it just came up, just enveloping me, you know. And there was this confusion whether, because it felt kind of like a spaciousness and anxiety at the same time. Yeah, I was wondering if it resonates, and maybe perhaps you can shed some light on it.
Yeah. So who we are is the consciousness that's prior to the body-mind. And as that begins to break away, it does create anxiety and fear in the body. And the reason that is because you've lived your whole life believing that you are something in here. So to have that shift is very scary, because it means that you aren't a truth. Who you think yourself to be isn't a truth, and that is scary for the person. What you are is the consciousness which is prior to that. You've never been a limitation, but there's been this belief that the consciousness and the person are one and the same thing, or like are together, and so it's felt like there is a conscious person inside this body, whereas this body and all your thoughts are appearing in consciousness. So when the anxiety arises, it's the netty of not this, not that, not this, not that. However, if it then begins to turn into trauma, and trauma is a very specific feeling, which I feel like you know that, then you want to start trauma practices like TRE, or which I think you already do, because when you get into trauma, it gets into a loop, you know, and just keeps going round. And so you want to do a practice alongside that, which is breaking that loop in the body-mind mechanism. So you're not damaging the body-mind mechanism, you're not reinforcing something in the body-mind mechanism. But it is scary for the body-mind mechanism to expand to what it truly is as the infinite. Like to be looking here and to not be a body that's going in time, to not be a story that's going in time. It's no small endeavor that we're talking about here. It's massive. It's from switching the perspective from being a limitation to not being limited, which is a completely different energetic experience of the world.
So I find that paradox is that without non-duality, there's no hope. You know, because, you know, I'm saying a paradox because non-duality is beyond hope and hopelessness. You know, it is just kind of like, you know, that surrender to what is. You know, at the same time, I want freedom. And part of me says, hey, you know, how can I, how do you say, how can I speed it up? Because I'm tired of the illusion.
This is quite a hard,
you know,
it's quite a hard answer, that the one that is tired of illusion has never existed. That's so crazy. So right now, that tiredness that you feel and all the memories that come with it are an illusion. And this is what really begins to break down. However, if we're going to speak in the story, the wise thing to do as a human is to keep presenting yourself to this subject and then aim to make the body healthy. And what I mean by that is good sleep, good diet, good mental health, understanding the constraints of the and then at the same time like presenting itself to non-duality.
That's what I'm doing. But what I mean is that I'm tired of it, is because I recognize it fully that, you know, that freedom will not come from more or less, you know, escaping pain or chasing pleasure, whatever form that takes. I know it very well. At the same time, I can't escape that samsara.
Yeah. And the idea, if we go into the timeline, the idea that it's only been this life is a lie. That's been going on millions and millions and millions of lifetimes. So yes, when you begin to wake up, you are really beginning to get tired of the dream, of the illusion. And it is a precursor to be tired of that, to no longer want to invest in that.
Yeah, but there is still a hidden part of me that wants it, obviously.
Yeah, wants freedom, yeah.
No. There's still a hidden part of me that wants that pleasure.
Oh, wants the pleasure,
the pain.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise you'd be totally free.
I can't be lying to myself. Exactly.
Yeah, no, but if you didn't have that, you would be totally free. So yeah, so what then to do, even though it's an illusion that you are doing, but what I'm suggesting might happen is you use that pleasure to long for freedom. So Papaji would say, if you totally long for freedom, if you long for it enough, then you are free. So you direct that longing that is left in you towards freedom. But again, it's not really you that does it, it's something that happens. But I suggest it, and then we see what happens. It might start a thought loop in the brain, and then there might be the movement towards that. So it's directing. It's kind of tricky
because I find that, it is money, sex, power, all that stuff, all the human stuff.
But at the base of it,
how to take that? Yeah, the base of it. Yes, the base. That's the base of it. Correct. Yeah.
The base. That's okay. The base of it, of power, of wanting power, is actually wanting freedom. So it's like when you notice that arising in situations where you want to be more powerful than the other, when you really go to the bottom of that wanting to be more powerful than the other, actually what you want is to be free. But it's just going through the wrong channel of wanting more power than anyone. So when that arises,
vacillation between the two.
Yeah. When it arises, it's like you can use it as a slide back into narrating that as I want to be free. So you notice it's arising, wanting to be more powerful. You notice the sensation that arises in that, but you notice that also in that there is a calling to want to be free. So you can just play with it. So next time you feel the wanting to be more powerful than someone, just play with the idea, I want to be free, and see how that feels. I mean, that's the most powerful thing there is.
So I want to be free of that, or I want to connect to the core of longing.
The core of longing, like I want to be free, as in I want to go back home, I want to not be separate.
Yeah, I think there is a conceptual part of it, and there is a visceral part of it.
Yeah.
The conceptual part of it is a loop, the visceral part of it is, truly going to the depth of the longing.
Yeah, and the depth of longing is freedom. That's all you've ever wanted. That's all anyone's ever wanted. Whatever they do, is at the base of it, they're crying for freedom. So say if there was like murdering someone or something, at the bottom of it is a crying to be free. Every act of it, every moment of it is a crying to be free. So it's tapping into that in the remaining desires that are there.
The word free is a bit confusing to me. Is connection maybe another term for it?
You could use connection.
Because word free, you know, in terms of that means being free of,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, the so-called chasing.
Yeah. Yeah, so you use the word that feels right, and if connection feels right, you can drop into that. Connected, yeah.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, thank you so much, David. Okay, I'll just take one more question. I think there's some written questions that I didn't answer. Yeah, if your question didn't get answered, then you're welcome to join me in another stream. There won't be one next weekend as I'm doing a retreat. But the weekend after, I think there might be one. Okay, so Lauren asks, are there other people? There's seemingly other people, but no, there's only consciousness. Isn't that crazy? What you see as other people is a thought. But that's how we function. So we have a dog, we have a friend, we have a parent. But no, they don't exist. They're not real. Stay in what you are as consciousness, as beingness. Okay, we'll do one more. That was a very short answer. As I get older, this is from William. Will I am. As I get older, I am becoming a bit of a hoarder. How can non-duality help with shopping and the energy of companies standing behind their products, pulling you in to buy more? It's so wonderful not to have much stuff. Yeah. Having said that, I am partial to the old clothes. I am a bit partial. When me and my partner packed up our house because we had it renovated, like his boxes were mostly technology. This is really sexist. And my boxes were mostly clothes. He had a lot more boxes than me, to be fair. Because technology is maybe... Well, yes, but most of my boxes were clothes, bedding. And then a small box of technology. Yeah, I do like the clothes. But I love it. I also love giving the clothes away to the charity shop as well. I really love this as well. I find that really wonderful to give it away. Because the way I see it, even though this is a personal thing, this isn't non-dual, but like the giving away thing, like giving them to the charity shop, is that any products that we create, we need to use them. So you mustn't have things in your house that you're not using, because then they begin to rot. Whereas if you give them to the charity, then somebody else can use them. That's the most important thing. Screw money and screw the companies and all these thoughts. You've got to think of it more like, if we are going to chop down a tree or make cotton, in the process of that, we are killing so many animals, not to say whether or not what happens to the tree or what happens to the plants that we kill. But karmically, if we think of karma in the human world, you mustn't take a product from the planet and then not use it. We have to use it. So as soon as I stop wearing a clothes, even though it's like money-wise, it doesn't apply for money because it's a digital thing. That's a really like insane thing, money. But product-wise, you must give it to someone else. So as a hoarder, if you're getting older and getting hoarder, you've got to think of it like ethically, karmically. If I keep that stuff in my house, I'm producing bad karma because I'm not using the products in which we've taken from an animal or we've taken from a plant. So you've got to not keep your stuff. As soon as you stop using it, you've got to give it to the charity. I don't know how your countries are. Germany's not the best country for charity shops. England is great. We've got so many charity shops. And also France, like, yeah, amazing charity shops. So anything you're not using, you just got to give away because otherwise you're robbing it of its usefulness. And the object wants to be used. Like, it doesn't want to sit in a drawer, it doesn't want to sit under books, or it doesn't want to do that. So that's that thing. But that's a personal thing, and you can all shoot me down and have different views. That's not non-dual. That's the way I look at it. And then I'm like, fantastic! I can give away these clothes and then I can buy some more. But the buying more part is not the most ethical part, as my partner says. The most ethical part is to just have a couple of clothes. Yes. I've not got to that part yet of just having a couple of clothes. He just has like 5 t-shirts, 5 jumpers and 5 trousers. I haven't got to that yet. I just love the color and the, like, yeah. So if we go to the non-dual part of why we get attached to objects, is often, I mean, there's a variety of different things, but often it's because of security, and you aren't going to get security from an object, person, place, or thing. It's a lie. It just makes you more insecure in the end. So you start thinking this person is going to make me secure, or this object is going to make me secure. It's not conscious, but that's what happens. It's going to give me that thing. But the more that you feed insecurity, the more it grows. The more that you feed lack, the more that it grows. So we often hold on to objects because of it's some form of security. It could be something else though, but whatever the fact is that nothing will free you. And it's so wonderful to be with less objects, because less cleaning, less dust, less moving things when you move, easier, yeah, it's just so much easier having less things. And we need so few things. Yeah. But after this conversation, I can imagine my partner is going to then bring up clothes again. Yeah. When we moved though, I was like, yeah, but my boxes are really light, they're just clothes. Yeah. And I like the jewelry as well, the stones. I do like, I have lots of stones as well. Yes. So, yeah, that's, the non-dual part is looking to see why you want these objects and what you feel they give to you. The rest of it is Lisa's opinion, and that is just opinion, and it comes and goes. Yeah. Okay, that is the end of today's talk. So now if you put your video on in Zoom, I will go round and just look at you. We will look at each other, which is such a really like beautiful thing to do, to just have a few minutes in silence looking at each other. And normally always like ba 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 and trying to present ourselves as something. Whereas when we do this exercise, we present ourselves as nothing. We're just nothing. We're just consciousness looking at consciousness. Yeah. And just like noticing anything that arises in that. Here we are. That is so really lovely to see you all. Yeah, and your video won't be streamed or anything. Just if you speak, it's streamed, and then obviously if I speak to you. Yeah, so if you're a hoarder, objects need to be used. You need to use them. They want to be used. A cup doesn't want to sit in the basement. It wants to be a cup. Okay. Schumann. Oh. Yeah, I wish I could see you all in big. So it's these little pictures. Michaela McCleary. Tony. Lauren E. Zoom user. Izzy. You knew it was going to be you. You're trying to repossession the camera. You're like, wait, and then it's you, Izzy. Emma. Aruna. David S. Lee Ann and dog. Shane R. Isabel R. Peter B. Romy P. Stacy C. Anchor. Matthew B. Melody. Lalit. Peta. Barney. Fabian. Lindy. Manuka. Sam. Brian C. Len. Asbjorn. Paul W. And then we got some people with their camera off. Is there anyone with the camera on that I didn't do? If you just give me a wave. I think I did everyone. Oh, did I do you, Peter? Peter B? You did. Yeah. Okay, so we go to Talia. Eric. Yeah, it's also a little harder with the videos off. Like I may be doing it out of a formality. Just to not look at someone. Maybe if I look at my own video. It's like my own video disappeared. But I'll just read out your name so it feels a bit like, who do I look at? Yeah, the name. Natalia. Lindsay. And ML. Yeah, nice. Yeah, thank you everybody in Zoom. Yeah, I really wish you everything. I won't be here next week. Yeah. But I will, I've got a recorded one that I did on Friday, but maybe you're all here and I will upload that next weekend. Yeah. Thank you. I really wish you everything. To love. Okay, to those in YouTube. Now you'll go, and all of you have left because you don't want to hear me speaking out people's names. We've still got 73 people there. Yeah, I really, 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 really wish you everything. And if you want to join the Telegram community, you can find out how to do so on my website. Yeah. So I really wish you everything. Not one or two or three things, but every God-blessed thing. Thank you.